Welcome everyone, you're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Shivani Gupta. Pandemic politics is peaking again, but the battle is not so much over the number of cases in India or the vaccinations right now. The entire political fight is over the Bharat Jodo Yatra. From calling COVID a bahana to talking about the chronology of the health minister's letter to Rahul Gandhi to suggesting that there is just a ploy to stop the yatra from entering the national capital to now even mocking the Prime Minister. Is the response to the health minister's advisory by the Congress party hurting its own image? And is the yatra politics itself hampering India's COVID fight back? That's our big focus tonight. First up, the story.
Not a mask in sight. No social distancing. Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra enters the national capital region despite an advisory from the centre to call it off. As fears of a COVID resurgence return, Rahul Gandhi and his followers are getting set to march the streets of Delhi.
What is the strategy
We
of...
are all taking precautions. We don't play politics with public health issues. It's the BJP, it is the Prime Minister and his colleagues who are using the COVID situation in order to defame and derail the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
Earlier this week, Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia had written to Rahul Gandhi to follow COVID-appropriate behaviour or suspend his yatra.
मेरी जिम्मेवारी थी कि मैं राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री को लिखूं और यात्रा जो कर रहे हैं ऐसे उसके कन्वीनर को भी लिखूं कि उसके ऊपर प्रिकॉशन, उसके ऊपर जरा कोविड प्रोटोकॉल का पालन करें. मैं बात में पॉलिटिक्स में नहीं जाना चाहता हूं, लेकिन एज ए हेल्थ मिनिस्टर मेरा दायित्व है कि देश में कोविड ना फैले और उसके लिए मैं जागरूकता से काम करूं.
But Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party are calling it an excuse to shut down the yatra.
यात्रा को बंद कीजिए. अच्छा, बाकी हिंदुस्तान में पब्लिक मीटिंग जितनी करानी करा लो, बीजेपी करा सकती है. मगर जहां भारत जोड़ो यात्रा चल रही है, वहां पे कोरोना और कोविड.
The BJP claims Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Sukhvinder Singh Sukhu tested positive days after taking part in the Bharat Jodo Yatra, where he was walking side by side with Rahul Gandhi, even calling it a super spreader.
भारत जोड़ो यात्रा आप जिंदगी भर करते रहो, हमारा कोई आपत्ति नहीं है भैया. आप घूमते रहो, देश भर में घूमो, गांव-गांव घूमो, जितने इच्छा है आप घूमते रहो, मगर कोविड प्रोटोकॉल फॉलो करो, यही हमारा एडवाइजरी है.
Taking an early lead, the Prime Minister has urged for strict vigil and following COVID-appropriate behaviour in light of the surge in cases in China. But for Rahul Gandhi, is his political agenda bigger than public health?
Let's go across to the guests who are joining us. RP Singh from the BJP, APS Kadiyal from the Congress party, Smita Prakash is editor ANI, Karan Verma is an author and political analyst, Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist and tracks the Congress party very closely. Let me go across to Arshpreet first up. Arshpreet, the question that many are asking today is that all the health minister did was advise that there are certain protocols and precautions that should be put in place because there were reports and concerns raised to him that some have tested positive from the yatra. And if that cannot be done, then possibly look at suspension. Why has the Congress party taken this as such a strike against the Bharat Jodo Yatra, that in defending the Yatra, you've ended up making comments that almost makes it sound like you're considering COVID not a threat at all?
See, one thing that has happened here is, which is astonishing also, is that the Bharatiya Janata Party is now saying that there are people coming from, the length and breadth of the country in order to join the Bharat Jodo Yatra. The very BJP that used to say back in the day that, nobody's participating, there are no people at all whatsoever. So first, thanks to the Bharatiya Janata Party for, acknowledging that the Bharat Jodo Yatra has turned out to be an astounding success. Number two, we are more than willing to follow the COVID guidelines, but is the Bharatiya Janata Party willing to do that? Even back in the day, 2020, when COVID had hit us, it was Mr. Gandhi and the Congress party that had time and again said to the BJP that please take it seriously. It's a major issue. There are going to be consequences. Do something about it. And the Bharatiya Janata Party did not do anything. As a result to which, there were dead bodies found in Ganga. And there were people walking, on foot for hundreds and thousands of kilometers, holding their babies, in terrible conditions. And the Bharatiya Janata Party didn't realize the responsibility then, is not realizing the responsibility today, and therefore is writing a letter to only Bharat Jodo Yatra and Mr. Gandhi. Now, here is the question. When you impose certain rules or guidelines, everybody will follow it. You don't have to specify or, individualize a personal, an individual or an individual party. That is when you start indulging into politics.
Well, this letter has not gone to everybody else. This letter has gone to the Congress party because the Congress party has this yatra going on right now, which is, of course, traversing through the length and breadth of the country. But you didn't answer my question. I'm not saying that the yatra should be stopped. And I don't think anybody is saying that the yatra should be stopped because currently there are no such restrictions on gatherings and yatras. The question I asked you was very simple, Arshpreet, was yes, you could have defended the yatra. You could have said we are not willing to postpone it or suspend it because there is no, according to us, a threat like that. But we will follow all precautions. Now, today the Congress party comes out and says, yes, we will follow precautions. Yes, we have issued advisory. But for the last 2 days, just yesterday, Rahul Gandhi called it a bahana. How is COVID a bahana if the health minister of the country is only reminding you of precautions?
Now, number one, it's not just the Congress party's yatra that is going on. In Karnataka, there was a massive rally that was held by the Bharatiya Janata Party's leaders. No word said about it, no letter shot. Number two, in Rajasthan, major rallies, mass gatherings happening by the Bharatiya Janata Party. No word, no letter shot. This goes on to suggest the bias and arbitrariness that the Bharatiya Janata Party has brought into the picture vis-a-vis COVID, due to which it becomes very difficult for the people of India to believe what the BJP is saying. Number two.
Do you believe that COVID is a threat? Forget what the government says. The Congress party doesn't always listen to the government. And you said that nothing has happened in this country. Today, though, your leaders say that most of the country is vaccinated and that's why there is no threat. So both can't be true. Either nothing happened or vaccinations did happen. But my question is, do you believe that there is a threat? Do you believe you can act responsibly? That's where it ends.
Now coming to that, I was coming to that. So one, the Bharatiya Janata Party's government is saying one thing, that due to the surge in China and USA, we should be careful. Now the surge started to, show its colors on the 25th, from the 25th of November in China. There was a surge that had begun. But why did the Bharatiya Janata Party waited for a month?
Okay,
why this
you
delay?
Only talked about the BJP. I am asking you about the Congress party. No, Arshpreet, I got it. I got it. But I am asking you a question. Talk about yourself also. You can't just keep saying the government is doing this or that. My question to you is, do you believe today, Arshpreet, do you believe today that there is a threat, an impending threat possibly, because the cases are not that high in India, but an emerging threat, an impending threat? And a threat means that it could happen. Do you believe there is a need for being cautious or not?
Now, if there is a threat, yes or no, depending upon what the government says, if they say there is a threat, why is there no curb, no restriction on international flights? People can come from China, people can come from the US, the variant can spread. But nevertheless, the Bharatiya Janata Party hasn't issued any curb or restriction. So where is the threat number two?
Why do you wait for curbs? The curbs also mean a lot of economic activity has to be stopped. I'm not asking for the yatra to be stopped. I'm just saying when it comes to masking, when it comes to maybe a little bit of social distancing behavior, when it comes to isolating yourself if a positive test has come to light. For example, the Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister tested positive. So when it comes to those precautions, those guidelines exist, right, for large gatherings. And do you believe there is a need to be to take precautions or not? Simple question it is.
100%. See, Mr. Modi is wearing a mask in the parliament, but on the very same day in the evening, he's not wearing a mask. He's amongst the public. Now, is it not
you don't follow what Narendra Modi does or says. You are a party who believes you are the ones who have been warning the entire country on COVID. I'm only asking about you. What do you think the threat is?
Wear a mask and in the evening
but
there is no mask.
Arshpreet,
why is the Prime Minister not wearing a mask?
Quoting somebody else's behavior is not an excuse for your own behavior. I'm only asking you that the Congress party believes that they are the ones who've been ahead of the curve. So do you believe there is a reason to be precautious or not? That's it.
In a democracy,
yes or no?
I am coming to that. In a democracy, please allow the opposition also to ask some questions to the government. All the questions shouldn't just be posed to the opposition.
So but I'm asking you this question so then I can get your mind clear. I'll go to the BJP when I go to the BJP.
If COVID is a threat, why did Mr. Modi not wear a mask in the evening?
Okay.
On the very
so I think I
same
get
day
the gist of what Arshpreet is saying. If COVID is a threat, then why?
Number two. Why Karnataka and Rajasthan had rallies by the Bharatiya Janata Party? Number 3.
Arey, don't
why
repeat
is the
the same
Bharatiya Janata
thing, no,
Party's
Harshpreet.
leaders themselves not following any social guidelines, social distancing guidelines?
But I'm
mask
asking
guidelines?
you
They
that
have
you are
been
the ones
violating
who
it.
claim you
And
have
number
behaved
4,
responsibly
it
throughout
has been
as the
going on.
opposition
The
during the
surge in
COVID
China has
pandemic.
been going
What
on
happened to
since
that
5th of
responsibility
November.
now? No, what happened
The
to that
surge in
foresighted
China.
it's now?
The
Because the
surge
Congress
in
party
China
cannot
has
at
been
one
going
level
on
claim
since
they are the
25th
ones
of
who always
November.
know what the threat is
Despite that,
and
there has
then
been no
say that
action
no,
by the
there is no
government.
threat right now. RP Singh,
BJP
RP Singh, is there a threat right now or no threat? And if there is a threat, then why not for everybody? Why only for the Bharat Jodo Yatra?
Do you remember, Shivani, the way the Congress spokesperson was trying to pitch that there is no threat and we give it very damn hoot to the complete system and he is not doing so where shall we do it and all that. Do you remember April 2020? The gentleman named Maulana Saad, he represented the Tabligh Ke Jamaat. He also said the same. हमको कोई परवाह नहीं है, हमको ऊपर वाले की मेहर है. We are being blessed by the Lord. So we can't have corona. All that stuff he used to say, and they used to spit on road and then giving a hoot to the complete processes or complete protocol which was laid for corona. That's what's happening today also. There's an advisory given to you simply to wear a mask.
I see that you're wearing a mask today. But RP Singh, is it not true that until 2 days ago, even till the letter to the Rahul Gandhi Yatra was sent, nobody was wearing a mask, even from the BJP?
Shivani, I'm wearing a mask because your cameraman is here and he's sitting 10 feet away from me, although. But even then, had I done it on Skype, I would have been like the Congress spokesperson or other spokesperson because then I would have been on my own. But there's a separate issue is that if advisory has been issued, then accept that advisory. You say, हमको advisory नहीं मिली, कोई हमको scientist बताएं, हमको अरे advisory has been issued by the minister and minister goes by the advice of the scientist or the experts.
No, but the question that arises, RP Singh, the question that arises is that you were very quick to issue the letter to Bharat Jodo Yatra, which is fine. I don't think there is a problem in that. But as the Congress party points out, there are other large gatherings that are also going on. You could have issued a letter to them also.
Let me share that with you. Let me share the difference between the two. The letter has been given to Ashok Gehlot ji also that he should do the needful in his state. The meeting with the health ministers are called to do the needful in their respective states. Arvind Kejriwal has taken his own call. The Chief Minister of West Bengal has taken his own call. Chief Minister of Gujarat will take his own call. So let the health ministers of the various states, because they have undergone the complete process of protocol of the corona. They know what's good or what's bad during corona. What preparations have you done? They're all through this now. Government has already told them, be prepared. We should be ready with everything, whether it's oxygen, whether it's hospital beds.
No,
or
but
whether
an
it's
individual yatra and that to an opponent political party's yatra. This is the only yatra that has been sent a letter.
Shivani, give me a second. Which is the other yatra which is happening across the country? Which other yatra where are people coming from other states and joining and going back to the respective states? Other yatras are confined to the state and state governments can take a call on that. And then they can keep just something about their yatra also. Nakul Nath, the son of Kamal Nath, said on record, "Isse badi yatra to hamara nahi galti hai, ye kya yatra hai?" I mean, he said on record, he said this is a very small yatra. We had done bigger yatras and bigger procession in our state. There's Nakul Nath, Kamal Nath's son's statement. So we are not getting to that. They can all the best to them for the yatra. They said Delhi yatra aa rahi hai to dar gaye. अरे डर तो आप लोग गए जगदीश चैटर को लाओ ना मेरा चैलेंज स्वीकार करो लाओ जगदीश चैटर को जूते खाओगे दिल्ली के दस्तदारों से because you were chest thumping that we'll get Jagdish Chaitar in the yatra. Who can stop us from getting Jagdish Chaitar in the yatra? Sir, अरे हाँ बिल्कुल लैंग्वेज चाहिए अगर जगदीश चैटर मैं नहीं कह रहा हूँ आप टाइटलर को लेकर आना आप टाइटलर को लेकर आओ यात्रा में और फिर आपको पता लग जाएगा आपको दिल्ली के सरदार जवाब दे देंगे आपको दिल्ली के सरदार जवाब दे देंगे आप टाइटलर को लेकर आना भारत जोड़ो यात्रा में यू आर रबिंग सॉल्ट ऑन योर वुंड तुम नकली सरदार हो तुम
अरे
नकली
ऐसे
चला रहे
नहीं
हो, तुम्हें
बोलिए,
पता ही नहीं, तुम हमारे
ऐसे
जख्मों
नहीं
में नमक
बोलिए।
रगड़ोगे
आरपी
तो
सिंह,
वापस
लेट्स
जवाब
नॉट
देंगे
गेट
हम
इनटू
आपको।
दैट। ऐसे
वाह,
मत बोलिए,
वाह,
कोई
वाह,
पर्सनल
वाह।
अटैक मत कीजिए। आपने जगदीश टाइटलर के बारे में जो बोला वो मैं समझ सकती हूँ,
personal
उनका
नहीं।
एक
I'm
अपना
sorry,
हिस्ट्री
शिवानी,
है।
मैं
एंड
जो
जगदीश
यात्रा
टाइटलर, जस्ट फॉर द
करेगा-
बेनिफिट ऑफ आवर व्यूअर्स, has pulled one second, Ashpreet, I'll give you time. Ashpreet, you were wanting me to
Yes,
ask questions to
so
others
low.
as well. Now please yield,
sorry,
so that I
please
can
ask,
ask
please
questions
ask,
to
but
others
where
as
is he
well.
going?
Otherwise, I'll
What's
have to
he
mute
saying,
your audio.
Shivani?
Don't talk
Shivani,
over
what's
me.
he saying?
When I come to
I'll
you,
quit the
please
debate.
talk.
I'll quit the
Ashpreet,
debate.
not
I'll
like
quit the
this.
debate.
Don't
No,
talk
what's
over
he
me.
saying?
Don't talk
What's
over
he
me.
saying? I'm
Don't
not
talk
speaking
over me,
you.
Ashpreet. When I
What's he
come to you,
saying?
you will get an opportunity to respond, but not
I'm
like this.
sorry, but would you not say anything
Can I
to
please
him?
have other guests on
Would you
air
not
as well?
say
The issue
anything
about
to him?
Jagdish Tytler is that he has indeed pulled out of the Yatra as it comes to the national capital. We all know why. He always turns out to be an embarrassment for the Congress party, even as there are attempts from time to time to rehabilitate him. Smita Prakash, I come to you exactly with this question. This whole charge that because the Yatra is coming to the national capital, therefore there is greater scrutiny, and therefore the central government or the BJP is very upset, or they feel threatened with this Yatra. Is that a logical, logical explanation by the Congress party?
Shivani, I don't think anything logical is happening these days, frankly. Nobody's quite aware exactly what the global situation is, what the national situation is, what the Chinese situation is. And in the absence of information, it's free for all in the country. Make your own rules. The states are doing their own thing, plodding along. There's disinformation, rumors. The health minister did speak in parliament and everybody was waiting, but still I think there isn't enough clarity, and when there isn't clarity, then of course there's politics and there's dirty politics. Now, if I was to see this purely from a political point of view and not so much about COVID as such, because I'm not a COVID expert, so I refuse to speak into it. Purely from a political point of view, I can just see that BJP is giving undue importance to the Bharat Jodo Yatra. They're again playing catch up to a narrative that Rahul Gandhi is setting for them, a trap that Rahul Gandhi is setting to them. The Yatra was supposed to actually just rejuvenate the Congress cadres, and even in that, he's probably maybe 20% or 40% successful, because one is seeing success in terms of electoral success. So it's not really so much of a success electorally. But as far as cadres is concerned, yes, crowds are coming in. But the BJP reacting is giving more oxygen to this yatra. It is the slugfest will occupy eyeballs, which is Jairam Ramesh's aim after all. And I think the Congress benefits out here. Something that the BJP probably didn't realize when they brought it into attention. It was just an innocuous letter, but that letter was enough for the Congress to latch onto, and the Congress is trying to play a victim card. They don't need to. They are having a free run of the media continuously for the past couple of days as soon as that letter came out.
Yeah,
to the public.
Actually one of the Congress spokespersons earlier in one of the shows said that, this is the first time we've been debated so heavily when it comes to the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
That's true, absolutely true, Shivani, on the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. So Karan Verma, who is being hurt with this politics and who is being benefiting from this politics? Because ultimately there is politics going on. I don't want to make it a laughing matter, but unfortunately what has happened in our country is that over the last 3 years, all we've seen is politics over COVID. Initially over the initial lockdown, then over the other waves, then over vaccinations, which vaccine should be in India, not be in India. Ultimately as a citizen, sometimes you get fed up of it. You just want politicians to just behave a little responsibly and not make every matter a matter of politics, especially not health in this case. We've seen what COVID has done.
Shivani, COVID is not over and neither is covidiosity. And Congress party seems to have the patent of covidiosity right from day one. Whether it was Shashi Tharoor and Manish Tiwari who said that Covaxin will not be effective, it is hardly credible, and we'll not have people lining up for vaccination, or it was T.S. Singh Deo who said that Covaxin is not something that we'll distribute much in Chhattisgarh, and later he got jabbed and said that we need more of Covaxin in our state and the center is not providing it. So the truth of the matter is Congress has landed with a foot in its mouth every single time, and today again it was just a simple advisory that Rahul Gandhi should follow because it's a Bharat Jodo Yatra. They don't want it to be a Bharat Infect Karo Yatra. But alas, Rahul Gandhi can't help but twist everything in a political manner, and he doesn't even get political mileage out of it. You know, I make a bigger point. Local circles did a study last year that as far as vaccine hesitancy is concerned, Congress's negative campaign actually worked. Their political campaigns don't work, but their negative campaign actually increased vaccine hesitancy. And that was a report by the local circles. I think this is one matter, Shivani, where politics should be completely divorced from it. Because this is a
Sorry, let me take that to Rashid
Each one of us,
Kidwai.
at some level or the
Rashid
other,
Kidwai, over
was
the last
affected
3
by
days
COVID last year, and we don't want that this time around.
Okay, fair enough. Rashid Kidwai, the one point that everybody is saying again and again over the last 3 days is, what was the need to make it such a big deal? All the Congress party could have said is, thank you for reminding us about the crowds that are coming to our yatra. We know it is very successful. We will be careful, and we have, these precautions that have been put in place. Today, they are saying there are precautions in place. For the last 2 days, when I was asking them, they didn't know what are the precautions because they weren't, frankly. They could have just said, okay, thanks for reminding us, thanks for alerting us. We know what the COVID situation in some of the other countries is. We'll do what needs to be done. Matter ends there. Instead, you see them almost hampering the COVID fight back. The messaging is very important from tall leaders, right? What is the message that is now going out? That give 2 hoots to what the government is saying right now.
Absolutely. I think, Shivani, it's an entire controversy or debate is absurd because a government, I would talk about government first, government cannot make a distinction between being, a political party or political representatives and being the government. When the government says something, it carries a lot more, weightage. The entire thing came at, what was the idea behind writing letter? Because the 3 MLAs or MPs from the BJP of Rajasthan, they wrote letter to the Union Health Minister and reacted. So from the beginning, it had a political flavor, as Mr. Prakash was saying. See, COVID is far too, serious matter of public health to be left to the politicians. Because we had all kind of throughout this 2.5 years, we have seen, night curfew as if, COVID would not come. We are having marriages, we are having festivals, we are having, flights, we are having crowded trains, everything. And we think a yatra can, be a super spreader. We have party spokespersons who still blame, the Tabligis for the entire fiasco. When we know that, it happened at so many quarters, and of course, Tabligis were responsible for it, but the blame cannot be put on their, footsteps. So what I'm saying is the entire thing reeks of political play by the government and by the opposition, and this is very tragic. It's very unfortunate, uncalled for, and it also shows that in spite of suffering a lot for 2.5 years, we have learned nothing.
Yeah, and we can't come together even on a subject like this. Well, what can I say? We sometimes don't even come together even on a subject which we were debating ad nauseum just before this issue, which was the China conflict. But these are the times that we live in. I do thank all of our guests for joining us and sharing their views. Have a very happy weekend, gentlemen and ladies. Moving on, we're getting some breaking updates that are coming in. The government has a New Year gift for the poor. More than 80 crore people will get free food grains under the NFSA. They will not have to pay a single rupee for this. Central government will spend about 2 lakh crore rupees per year on this scheme. The government has also approved the revision of the pension of armed forces pensioners, family pensioners under the One Rank One pension scheme. More than 25 lakh veterans will benefit from this decision. Let me go across to my colleague Pallavi Ghosh, who's tracking more. So Pallavi, is this the same free food grain scheme that was introduced during the COVID period that is now being extended?
Yes, that's right. It's a National Food Security Act of the government, which essentially means it's going to be free food grown. And the government is calling this a New Year gift really for the people. So 80 lakh of food grains now going to be available and no one is going to have to pay for it. Yes, you're absolutely right, because if you remember during the COVID times, especially during lockdown, the finance ministry would periodically make this kind of an announcement, especially for those who are migrants, those who stayed back also. This was the government's way of trying to reassure them that their concerns would be addressed. So this is being seen as a New Year gift for the common man by the government.
All right, Pallavi, we'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot for joining us. 2 big decisions being taken by the government today. Moving on, we are still discussing COVID. Remember, there is an alarm not just in India, but across the world, because it's not just countries like China where there is a lot of catastrophic reporting coming out from, but also countries like USA, Japan, South Korea and Brazil that have different levels of vaccinations, different levels of infections, but all are seeing an uptick in the number of cases that are being reported, especially over the last 2 weeks. So what does that mean for India? What do you and I need to do? We've got Dr. Naresh Trehan joining us in just a bit.
प्रधानमंत्री जी की स्पष्ट सोच सदैव रही है, वन नेशन वन हेल्थ, और उसी के सहारे पर कोविड का मुकाबला हमारे देश में जन जन ने मिलकर किया।
Dr. Naresh Trehan, Chairman and MD Medanta, is joining us. Sir, thanks a lot for your time. A lot of people look forward to hearing from you on the COVID situations, and you and I have been speaking since the very first wave hit India. Now, currently, a lot of people believe that what we're witnessing because of the BF.7 variant, especially in countries like China, might not occur in India because this variant has already existed globally for 2 years and in India also for several months. What is your overall outlook for India?
So, on one hand, there is this belief that we have gone through 2 doses of, most people have been vaccinated 2 doses and 25% have taken a booster. But on the other hand, also we have lots and lots of Indians have had the COVID, so that there is a double immunity, quote unquote. We don't know 100%, but that with the natural immunity and the vaccinated immunity added together will probably protect us against BF7 also. Okay, but we don't know.
Okay.
If you remember the last time, we went through this whole thing that we've had BCG, we've had this, Indian immunity is much better because we are exposed to so many bacteria all the time. That nothing worked. We got the COVID wave as bad as anybody else got. We controlled it well, that's not a problem. So, but in any case, we shouldn't sit back and say nothing is going to happen. What my view is very clear. It doesn't hurt to be cautious. It doesn't hurt to be alert. It doesn't hurt to take precautions. So if that's the case, you don't want to take too many chances, and you go with a measured COVID response. And so on one hand, there are 3 parts to it. One is, what is this BF7? What behavior pattern it's showing in the rest of the world? And is it piercing vaccine immunity or not?
Yes.
Because also US got many people vaccinated, infected, and still we must watch what's going on there, because so far there have not been that many deaths or hospitalizations reported from these countries except China. Second is, what can the government do? The government has already triggered several things. One is to say, step up testing. Wherever people have a cold, cough or anything, it should be tested. And the advisory is also from us that you can even do it at home, because the home kits are quite reasonable in price. And if it turns out positive, then you go ahead and get yourself the RT-PCR, and then any positive RT-PCR should be subjected to genome sequencing. Okay.
Right.
Now, having done all these things, and also that we already have, the government already has a real-time surveillance system going on in every block of the country, so that information is flowing real-time to see if there are any pockets being detected anywhere. Okay, so that's what the government can do, and also give an advisory that, look, if you are going to crowded places, wear a mask. And if you're going to be, I'm saying that if you're going to be going to a movie hall, by all means, wear a mask. And if you're going to the plane or a flight, wear a mask, or an airport or crowded place. So that's the precaution you can take yourself. The second thing we want to add is that, supposing this is a triple whammy going on today. One is, it's the flu season. The second is that the the pollution is out of control in North India at least. Okay, and the third is the fear of the virus, the COVID. Now we are saying that if you have a cough and a cold, isolate yourself.
Okay.
Put on a mask, isolate yourself for those 4-5 days till your cough goes away. In any case, we stop the quarantine in 7 days. So if that is the case, you are going to protect yourself, you're going to protect your community, and the government is taking the measures that we are, that incoming traffic, especially from countries which are showing COVID rise, we should monitor those people. Now, random testing, checking for anybody who's got any symptoms of cough or cold or fever, and that screening should go on right now at the airport, and it's already started.
It has started indeed, and now more guidelines are kicking in. But you're saying as an individual, if you have a sore throat or cough, then do the same precautions that you would have done when COVID was at its peak in India. So isolate yourself and possibly test yourself. So the new nasal vaccine by Bharat Biotech has also been introduced finally. Do you think that will strengthen the messaging and the awareness about the vaccination drives and maybe incentivize people to come and take their jabs? Because, you know, nasal vaccine sounds much more comfortable, more convenient than a jab itself.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's very convenient. The efficacy over a large number of people have not been proven yet. These are controlled trials. Now we will know that when it goes out in the market and lots of people use it, we'll get the idea whether it's effective or how effective it is. So I think from that point of view, it's welcome news, but the efficacy is still not 100% established in the sense of over a larger population base.
Yeah. Well, that can only come after it has been administered. But speaking of the vaccines, because the focus is now back on them, you know, a lot of people have been dithering. There are several people in India who haven't even taken their second dose. Many are not going for their precautionary dose despite it being available over a long period of time right now. And I see these voices coming out, you know, where they feel, oh, COVID is either not there, I'm anyways getting infected, or I have been infected. What's the point of taking vaccines if I'm not going to be protected against infection anyways? So then there is a concern that several believe that whether these vaccines will be effective against the new variants or not. What will you recommend to people?
So that's a very, very tricky question to answer right now, because the verdict is not clear. The basic thing is, if you are elderly with comorbidities, I think you should not take a chance and you should get the booster.
Okay.
That's what my view is. So that if you're a vulnerable population, you should be protected extra, because we know that the vaccine is not hurting you. And especially if the nasal vaccine is available now, it makes it that much easier.
True.
So I think it's a good idea to take it, but it's a personal choice at this moment.
All right. If you are the elderly and if you are vulnerable, if you have other comorbid diseases, then do take that precautionary dose, regardless of the number of infections you've had. Dr. Naresh Trehan, thanks a lot for joining us. Moving on, remember this alarm over COVID has been caused by reports of nearly catastrophic infections and deaths in China. Some have predicted millions of deaths. But what is the real situation in China? With data not forthcoming, it's really a lot of guesswork. There are a lot of people who are pushing out information that is coming from China, even if they're not there. We talked to Dr. Li Meng Yan, virologist, remember, who was one of the first to call COVID a lab-made virus in China. Dr. Lan, thanks a lot for speaking to us. Some people are suggesting that this is a deliberate, strategy of the Chinese government, that they want to get a lot of herd immunity going, which they've been missing. So therefore, they've opened up restrictions and they want as many people as possible to get infected. What are you learning of what's going on in China and what the strategy there is?
Thank you so much. And first, I want to tell people there are a lot of factors unclear in this ongoing outbreak in China. However, because my team is working on collecting data from China, so we can tell you we are for sure that what is happening in China now is man-made disaster, because the Chinese Communist government suppressed the treatment, and also they even don't allow people to get PCR sequencing for the virus examination. And also they still encourage the expansion of this outbreak happened in China. And also we can see that a lot of things very suspicious. For example, we talk about the timing. The outbreak suddenly come out right after the protests against the Xi Jinping and the CCP government. And also, at that time, Xi Jinping faced the international pressure too. You know, the House Intelligence Committee of United States already pointed out the evidence between bioweapon and also COVID-19 virus in China, and they claim to hold China accountable. So after that, we see outbreak keep going, and China government still hides information, cover up as what we have seen in Wuhan in early 2020. And we need to tell you that the symptoms happened in China is very severe, different as what you know about the Omicron variant in other countries. And because of the lack of information, we still don't know the passaging yet. Whether they are only the new variant or whether there is something else, we have to keep observation.
Okay, I find one thing very interesting. You are saying that because the Chinese were coming under greater scrutiny about whether COVID was a Wuhan lab-made virus or not, therefore that there could be a political strategy here to let the Chinese be infected so that China can claim, look, we are as badly affected as anybody else. Because just before this, it was almost there were no cases in China. Historically, there are very few cases in China, what they've reported.
You mean that when China make people sick, that the other people cannot blame China, right?
You know, my question is that, you know, if the blame was falling on China about the fact that this turned out, that let's say possibly this turns out to be a man-made virus, then a lot of people would naturally ask the question, how is China dealing with it? Now, if there is an explosion of this virus in China, China can claim that, see, we are as badly affected as anybody else. So this is not of our creation. Is that what you're suggesting?
If you have seen the propaganda in China from the beginning of outbreak until now, it always shows that either you should believe it comes from nature or you should believe it's a bioweapon from US to intentionally kill Chinese people. And also, at this moment, when you see the new propaganda in China, it becomes worse that China government claims some scientists are compromised by United States, like the Batwoman, and then they release the COVID-19 to China to kill Chinese people. So based on Chinese government and the People's Liberation Army's document, when they talk about the theory of the novel bioweapon using coronavirus, they clearly mention that as long as you can deny or you can make up the other kind of theory to fool the people, then people would believe it comes from nature or come from the other country. So that's why you can avoid the accountability. So we have to be very, very suspicious about the current outbreak. And also China is going to reopen right after New Year. What will happen at that time? Will the outbreak become new pandemic? That's something we're really worried about. And we hope other governments prepare well for that.
Final question to you, Dr. Yan. Don't you think that there needs to be first up greater accountability in China to disclose their actual numbers? There are no numbers being disclosed. And you know, those numbers help the rest of the country to also understand, and they should give us more information about the variants prevalent there. We're assuming it's the F.7 variant, but who knows what are more variants have come in by now?
We really think, of course, we should have the transparent data and the surveillance. However, it is impossible now because we know in China, in the past over 20 days of outbreak, there is no statistic, no number. And also, the government don't let hospital to give this kind of sequencing test to identify pathogen. When you talk about BF7, that is because 1 month ago, China CDC claimed that they have BF7 in China, which was circulating before the outbreak. We don't know how many new variants come out in the new outbreak. And also, we may never get the number. Like, we never know how many people died in COVID in China. Because once they give you more data, you will find more problems. So now they don't give you any data.
Well, this is once again globally very irresponsible behavior to not continue to test track the numbers and the deaths, because those numbers are important for the global community as well. And yes, you do need those genome sequencing, because then China would be able to share that with the rest of the world if new variants are coming, and everybody is at threat because of this. I do thank Dr. Yan for joining us. We're slipping into a very short break. On the other side, why the Tamil Nadu BJP and the ruling DMK are at each other's throats again. That story coming up.